All living things require sulfur in order to make protein. So let's take a look on how sulfur cycles itself around the Earth. First, sulfur are found in the lithosphere and released by the weather. In addition, hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide gas is released at the atmosphere while volcanic eruptions, hot springs, and the decay of biological materials in swamps. Marine algae produce dimethyl sulfide that enters the atmosphere as tiny droplets. Sulfur dioxide gas also forms when dimethyl sulfide reacts with the oxygen gas. Also, the burning of fossil fuels also release sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. Sulfur dioxide reacts with the oxygen in the atmosphere and creates sulfur trioxide. Oxide reacts with the water at the atmosphere to produce sulfuric acid. Sulfur trioxide also reacts with ammonia in the atmosphere to produce sulfate salt. The sulfuric acid and the sulfate salts falls into the earth by precipitation like rainfall. The soil absorbs these sulfate salts, then plants absorb the sulfur by absorbing the sulfate salts from the soil. Animals gets the sulfur by eating the plant, and the animals release sulfur when they decay. As animals decay, they release sulfate salts and hydrogen. Sulfide and anaerobic bacteria breaks down the hydrogen sulfide in the sulfur gas, and the aerobic bacteria converts the sulfur into the sulfate salts, which again the plant absorb. And that's how sulfur cycle itself. It keeps going round and round. Nitrogen is extremely important for the proper functioning of cells. The main reason for that is that proteins are made up of amino acids which are made of nitrogen molecules also, and many compounds important for the cell are made up of nitrogen. And we can say that nitrogen is required by all organisms. But we can't really breathe nitrogen into the air. The plant synthesizes nitrogen containing compounds, and when we consume plants, the nitrogen will enter our body. Nitrogen is present in the abundance in the atmosphere. However, the revalent molecule has a very strong triple bond shared between its atoms, and it's very difficult to break this bond. It requires high amounts of energy. Lightning process can break the bond, but that doesn't always help. Even plants cannot get nitrogen directly in the air. The microorganisms, several bacteria, and blue-green algae are part of this activity. This important process is called nitrogen fixation. This refers to converting an element into its usable form. These organisms converts nitrogen into utilizable forms. These organisms are referred as nitrogen-fixing organisms. These nitrogen fixers in soils converts the atmospheric nitrogen molecules into compounds nitrates, nitrites, and ammonium. These compounds are taken to the roots of the plants, and then the plants uses this compound in synthesizes proteins. Consumption of these plants by animals and humans, then the nitrogen get to the animal kingdom. This is how nitrogen fixation occurs. When the animals who consume the plants, when the animals die and decay, they produce waste as a result of the nitrogen, and this waste is in the form of ammonium. This is the key process in the nutrient cycle that constantly exchanges inorganic and organic matter back and forth in the environment. But we need nitrogen back into the atmosphere. So we use another type of bacteria. Through the denitrification process, nitrates are converted nitrogen gas again. So it leaves the soil to go back into the atmosphere. Overall, denitrification turns nitrates in the soil to nitrogen, which is returned to the air. For animals and for us humans consume nitrogen, we need the help of the microorganisms who convert it into a consumable compounds and plants that synthesizes the compounds, and then humans and animals can consume the nitrogen from the plants that we eat.